Now, when last did you receive a letter from a loved one, or has that art been lost with the invention of email, Facebook or Twitter? Today marks World Post Day, commemorated around the world. It's aimed at celebrating the creation of the Universal Postal Union in 1874.
But as long as I still enjoy the privilege of communicating with you, even though it may only exist in form for me, and until it is expressly taken away, the records will bear witness to the fact that I tried hard and earnestly to reach you by writing every month.
Madiba spent 18 years on Robben Island and kept in touch with loved ones, even managing a liberation movement through letters. Some will take months to arrive, others would not even make it. For generations, the letter has been the only way of keeping in touch with loved ones. And stamp collection, the hobby of the day.
You would sit and write letters every single day to your mother, your grandfather, depending where you were. And we're not talking just down the road. We're talking letters that went to England. It's not just you would have to drive kilometers somewhere. They would be carried on ships. It's amazing. I mean, you wrote a letter here and somebody would receive it in 3 months' time.
Letter writing used to be an art form and big business globally. That simple stamp at the corner of the envelope, a crucial part of the process. Yet that age-old tradition appears to be dying a slow death. These days, people hardly exchange letters. Emails, SMSs and WhatsApp messages have replaced the envelope and the postage stamp.
Yesterday I had a client in China who wanted to see pictures, and I just stood on the desk and I went WhatsApp, click, 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 and he got it straight away. Can you imagine that? People don't write as many letters as they used to those days. People still do, but you don't get as many. So I think we're losing that passion of what this generation had.
These relics are fast becoming collector's items. These King George V proofs are estimated to fetch over 3 million rand, while the stamps on this envelope may be valued at over 150,000 rand. Madiba's letters to his family are an important part of South African history, viewed by millions around the world. Proof that what's written on paper can last a lifetime. Sikelelwa, Johannesburg.
Well, auction house Stephan Welz & Co. are auctioning off a collection of stamps to the value of over 5 million rand. So how can we view stamps as investment opportunities, and actually what makes them so valuable? To tell us more is Sava Tuvajic from the auctioneers. Sava, very good morning to you. You're the person to mug this morning. Hey, you've got all of this, carrying all of this stuff with you early in the morning. We won't give anybody your details or your route home. How is it possible that something like a little stamp could be this valuable?
Well, you know, first I want to just go back on something you said. You did say investing in stamps. I always say investing is a dangerous word because look what happened to the stock markets.
Okay, collecting stamps.
Yeah,
okay.
There is value in stamps. Stamps do go up in price every year, and you know the one thing I always advise people is research what you buy. Don't just go and buy any stamp just because a catalog says it's worth so much.
And it's 100 years old.
Yes, ask why is the stamp worth money. You know, I mean, what's fascinating about these is in the case of some of the stamps that I bought here to show you, some of these are really rare because there's only a few that exist. You were also saying something now about a stamp being 100 years old. A lot of people don't realize this, but you know, stamp started in 1840. It was the first stamp, penny black. Not every stamp that is from 1840 and 1850 is actually worth any money.
So how would you determine? What would make a stamp from that era?
I always advise people, if you're going to collect stamps in the hopes that it does grow in money over the years, you start off with King Edward.
Okay.
All right, and this is a King Edward Transvaal £5, for example. This is going on auction today. I think the estimate is 20,000.
For that little thing?
40. That little thing is 20,000 rand. Yes.
Okay.
You start off with King Edward. You move on to King George V, which it's kind of that's the order that I would always suggest to people. Then maybe go backwards to Queen Victoria on a handful of items, and then move forward to King George VI. South Africa is unique in a very different way. We're the only country in the world that you had to collect the Union period. You actually had to have the English and Afrikaans stamp joined.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be on an envelope, but it has to be joined.
Yeah.
As you can see, we've got pairs there, pairs there, you know, pairs here. What we do have here, though, is a lot of varieties, which I bought in, because mistakes on stamps are always worth more money.
Okay.
That's
so
the kind of nice
The
thing.
defects on them is what makes them so valuable.
There's lots, as you can see with this one, you know, the one stamp's upside down. I mean, this one is catalogued 220,000 Rand.
For a mistake?
Yes.
That's a nice
The
mistake.
normal one is catalogued about 200 Rand.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's certainly something to, I think, future thought, instead of maybe those little gold coins, is to collect a stamp. But you know,
But collect gold as well.
No. Collect those, but put your stamps next to them in the safe.
Yes.
Where would you sort of find these? I mean, is it a particular sort of the world of the stamp collector that you would have to dabble in? Do you have to sort of know people and who know people, or how do you get your hands on them?
You actually, you know, what's amazing these days is you were talking about, or I heard the commentary earlier on saying that we don't write letters anymore. Everything's on the internet. You know, we WhatsApp, we tweet, we do all sorts of things. And what's amazing is that the information on stamps is all on the internet. I mean, if you go onto, you know, websites, sorry, if you go onto websites, you come to our auction house, it's become a very small world, so you can get stamps anywhere in the world. South Africa, we're still a small market, and we're kind of developing and growing again as a stamp market. We used to be very strong in the 70s and 80s. And what's happened now is collectively, I can buy a stamp sitting here, I can buy a stamp in London,
Yeah.
I can buy a stamp in the US.
So what do they post it to you?
Ironically enough, they do.
Oh, okay.
And you know, in saying that, we must, I just want to make this point. Any South African stamp from 1951, 51 to the present day that is not used, if it's a mint stamp, is actually legal tender.
Okay.
So a lot of people have these collections that Dad gave them, that were sitting there with stamps that are not worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you're sending letters, you can still use those stamps.
You can still use those stamps.
Absolutely. All the homeland stamps, Transkei, Botswana, you can actually put them on an envelope and send them off to somebody.
So where do I go to find out if I have this really old-looking, teeny-tiny piece of paper and I want to know if it's valuable? How do I find out?
You come to us at Stephan Welz. We've got we've got an office in Cape Town, we've got an office in Johannesburg, in Mandela Square. You come visit us, you come talk to me, and I sit and I explain to you what you've got, I show you what you've got, and then obviously if you decide you want to collect again, I kind of sit with you and advise you what areas to collect. You know, with stamps there's two areas. There's the actual stamps, which are these items, yeah? Then there's postal history. Now, postal history is slightly different, because what we're selling, you're not selling the stamps on an envelope. You know, you've got these two items here. Natal Transvaal combination cover and New Republic Transvaal combination cover. Now, this is part of our amazing philatelic history. With the Boer War and all of these things, sometimes an envelope couldn't just go directly to Cape Town, get on a ship, and head off to London or Europe or wherever it was meant to go. In this case, if you look at this one, this is going on auction at 150,000 tonight. What's unique about this cover, there's roughly 17 covers that exist. Of the 17, 11...
In the world?
In the world. 11 are sitting with one collector. If I'm not mistaken, another collector, I think, either has 2 or 3. There's about 3 left over. Here's one of them.
And you've got it right
we've
here.
Got it here in
I'll
front.
hold that for you, okay? I'll bring it to the auction later.
What's amazing about this, it's a Transvaal stamp. It was meant to go straight down to Cape Town on a ship overseas.
And then what happened?
It couldn't. It was diverted to Natal. Now, Natal had its own postal system. So you had to pay extra. So they put Natal stamps on this. So this is a combination cover. So what you're paying for here, you're not paying for stamps. You're not collecting stamps. You're collecting the journey of the envelope, the story.
Stories. These things have a story.
Yeah, the postmarks. It's that adventure that you're actually going into. So philatelic history, I mean, postal history is a very different area. It's actually growing very strong now around the world. A lot of people are interested in the kind of journeys of envelopes. And it's quite fascinating.
Well, I'm certainly interested now. So while you may be emailing all your communication, dig up those old letters and have a closer look at them. Thank you very much, Sava Tuvajic from Auction House, Stephan Welz & Co. Well, the United States will begin